Hello, good evening. Welcome to you. It's Friday evening. Chris from Rebound on Upstream Media's YouTube channel. Today, my guest is Hannah Shaw from Team GB. I'm really excited to have Hannah on the show. We're going to sort of delve into ladies basketball, sort of how we as marketers and social media and players and the shareholders game to continue promoting them. I think there's a real momentum at the moment, starting from this summer's last summer's Eurobasket, and also the unfortunate but still a successful pre-Olympic qualifying, which unfortunately Dales felt last harder, but it was a valiant effort. And congratulations, side. So you guys did really well. You did the whole nation proud. I thought I'd start from a player aspect, Hannah. Obviously, unfortunately, you guys didn't qualify for the Olympics. So it was a great effort by the team, and I, I I speak for the whole nation. We were behind you, cheering you on. I suppose since obviously being part of that great team, since that experience, I wonder if you've noticed any changes or any experience of how it's inspired sort of future generations of girls to look up to basketball and think, oh, I want to pick up basketball and become the next GB star.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And obviously, this past window, it was quite disappointing personally and as a team. Um, However, I do think like we need to celebrate that we did get that far and we did that on our own merit. And so we should all be proud of that. And as you said, like the support from home has been great, and so we are very thankful for that. In regards to inspiring younger girls, I do think we had a lot of messages from people saying that now their daughter is playing and that they're really enjoying it, and that with the All Girls campaign, we had so many messages from teams to say good job and good luck and things like that. So that I do see that there is like more people being involved. I don't know if maybe it's at a slower rate than we would hope. Well, it is at a slower rate than we would hope. And I think it is a shame that now, 8 years past the Olympics, I don't really think there has been as much moving forward as you would hope, or as much of a legacy left behind. But hopefully now we're starting again, and we're now going to be riding the wave, and hopefully we can push some more girls to get involved and to really enjoy it, because it is just such a wonderful game.
Definitely, I think your performance really metaphorically kicked people up the bum to sort of start pushing. You mentioned the All Girls, which I think is a great start to sort of push into things. And I've personally noticed an increase in social media, like BBL Fix, Hoot Six Ladies, and the Hoot Six Girls Tour. I'm sure all that will have a great effect going forward. I was thinking maybe what your thoughts on what could be done further. Obviously, these steps are really good, but obviously, where do you think the energy should be put to improving the ladies? Maybe not improving the game, but more the coverage it gets.
Well, sorry, I've got a few notes, so if it's a bit all over the place, bear with me. So I do think there's lots of things that people can do, and so we need to try and get more clubs having someone who's designated going out and looking for sponsorship. And I know it will sound like it will be difficult because a lot of clubs are run on like a very, very short budget, and we just need to try and maybe see if we can apply for grants and try and get people going out and looking for sponsorship, because the more you put a team out there, the more fans you will get, the more engagement you will have, the more people you will get coming to your junior programs. So the more that we can market ourselves and really put ourselves out there, it's obviously going to have better positive reactions for us. So things like that, they're really important. And there's a little thing that I remember someone telling me before the Raptors became a team in Canada. Canada didn't have another NBA team. Basketball wasn't huge, and so I believe the NBA put out commercials just explaining the rules of basketball, so that people, when they're watching TV, they say, "Oh, that's a rule for basketball." And then the Raptors came to town, and now, obviously, with last year, huge franchise, and obviously things like that won't work. Not won't work. We might not be able to implement things like that straight away, but we can always try and educate people on getting people involved into basketball. One of the other problems I do think that there is that it's just not enough awareness into schools unless you have a basketball team in your area where someone is going into your school to go and teach basketball, or going into a variety of schools to teach it. You just tend to rely on the look of what PE teacher you have. And I was very lucky. I had a PE teacher who liked basketball, really wanted to help people to enjoy the game. Whereas some schools, if you are a female and you show any promise in sport, go play netball, go straight into netball. There's nothing else for you. They'll just push you into that direction. And that's obviously what we're competing with. I mean, as much as I personally dislike netball, you can't argue with the fact that the Super League is, I mean, it's the second best netball league in the world. Granted, there's only probably 6 or 8 countries that operate at, a good high level. But the Super League here is the second best league in the world. They have people on central contracts. They really do market themselves well, and they are on Sky. So it's not that people don't
Yeah,
want to watch women's sport. It's that we aren't able to put ourselves into that position to get that kind of media coverage. But then with that, I think it's not a point of saying everybody needs to watch women's basketball, women's. We need to grow basketball as a whole, because women's football is huge, because football is huge. Football is a massive game. It's the biggest game in the world. So of course, women's football is going to be the biggest women's game in the world. So I think we need to do a better job of trying to get basketball into more schools at younger age groups, and try and just increase that kind of fan base and participation there. But
definitely.
maybe that needs to be.
You made
Oh, go
some
ahead. Sorry.
amazing points, and it's like I say, your seasons prior. I definitely agree with everything you say. I think I remember off air actually recently. I was speaking to Rupert, and we were talking. We had a John Batista referee on the show, and I think just having someone talking about the game, but with that understanding, for me as a fan, I had so much
Mm-hmm.
more respect for referees, a better understanding of the rules, and uh, I really sort of missed the basketball net growing up. I wasn't aware of the NBA. I went to uni in Plymouth, and the Riders were on my doorstep. Raiders, sorry, on my doorstep, and my interest different. I think what you said about PE teachers is really important. My PE teacher was really into badminton and pushed me that way, but I think you need people with those interests to push you in other ways. Just say, if I was pushed into badminton, I would have probably got pushed to basketball, just of where I was growing up. There's quite big, but looking back now, I thought actually
Mm-hmm.
after football, basketball was probably the biggest thing in Devon actually at the time. And I love what you
Yeah.
say about marketing, because I was watching a GB men's qualifier a few months ago, and I thought it was really interesting to see the effect of marketing and no marketing. So I think it was 2 days back to back. He had Obi Soko, and he was put in the
Mm-hmm.
second game, and then all of a sudden, him being there from his Love Island background and obviously working his brand, it rubbed off on basketball. And I think it's very true. You can't grow the ladies out growing the men. It's sort of all in house. Got to do it all together. Really, and I think that's a shame sometimes. I think the lady, rightly, it just seemed perceived the ladies push behind the men. So I think for me, when I went to watch Cup final recently, I thought, why is the ladies on before the men? We should have the seniors have their own set days, because then I'm no expert, but I imagine you players don't get time to sort of actually all be in the same house. What great would it be to have the ladies juniors precede the ladies seniors? You have all your girls in one place, networking, change ideas. But also, then you've got them. Oh, I really like that team because they got some good plays. Coach who could. They're already thinking about their next step in terms of progression. Whereas if you've got the juniors on one day and then the seniors another, sort of the juniors sort of don't really watch the seniors unless you've got a specific interest. And I'd love to see your opinion on that. Maybe sort of how the order has changed the structure of the finals.
Well, I agree that I think we should have the juniors followed by the seniors, but I think it should be more like the National League, NBL one, NBL two. I think that's a really good progression for you to have your under 18s, because more than likely you might have some crossovers between players playing in across the leagues. I actually really like the BBL and the WBBL having their day at the O2, or their day at the NEC or NIA, whichever one it is. But I really don't. I just think more can be done to schedule it better. I mean, I've played in a couple of the finals at the O2, and we go down on a Sunday and we play at midday, and then there's a charity game, and obviously a charity game is a great way to engage with people and get money in. But then if you're coming to watch the women's game at 12 o'clock, then you have to sit through another game, which is for fun. There isn't a vested interest in who wins, and then the men's game is much later. It's a very long day for people, especially if they're traveling. And also, as a player, I don't want to play at 12 o'clock. Like, I'm not a League One footballer. 12 o'clock is a time I've never played a basketball game, not since maybe under
No,
14s. And I think it is quite frustrating that there seems to be too much of a long gap to really engage everyone together. Whereas if you went women's final, men's final, boom, like that, that's only 2 basketball games. That's easily doable for a fan to sit there and watch and be present in both games.
yeah, I definitely agree. I sat in the cup final. I say because I live in Southampton, I think there's a Birmingham the cup final, and I was sort of forced in a way to sit through both. I got there early, but I really enjoyed it. But my first thought was that it's not really. I don't think many people would sit through that a lot. Like for basketball, especially like people were trying to expand the game too. But I do agree with you. Say it is a great way because if you are going to both, you sort of get caught in the net to watch both. Whereas if you came to one or the other, but there's lots of great ideas. I'm sure they'll work on them. And going back to when you got the ideas, I think you came up with quite a lot of good ones, and I think grassroots definitely a way to sort of grow the game. So that's the future. I think I got lost in my thought there. Sorry. So yeah, we're talking about the cup finals. Let us see I think what you girls did last time in the Eurobasket and obviously in qualifiers will definitely help so much. It's about making that momentum. And then we go back to, she mentioned the All Girls initiative. And I think that's a really good idea. I think it's really got the word out there. Very simple, getting people to be ambassadors or something to represent something. And I also think there's funding for officials. I think that's great to get a bit more gender, both ladies and men into officials. I was wondering what your thoughts were on the All Girls initiative. I wonder what things stood out for you, things like, well, maybe things you think they should probably push further going forward.
Oh, I think it is a really great initiative, and all the sessions that I've seen for getting girls playing and going into schools has been great. I haven't seen much, to be honest, about the officials and the coaches, so I don't really want to comment too much on that.
No.
I know this week on Twitter I did say that there's obviously a very visible lack of female coaches in the UK. I don't think anyone would disagree with me there. In fact, there's no way you can disagree with me there. There isn't a lot of female coaches. And so hopefully with the All Girls and with other clubs, they can hopefully try and push and try and engage more girls to maybe if they don't want to play anymore or if they have other interests, perhaps maybe you can still get them to stay around the club and be a part of the club and the environment, and try to engage them to become coaches or to become team managers or a performance analyst or a statistician, just to try and keep people more involved, and so you have a more rounded club like base.
Of course, I wasn't drawn to that tweet. It was actually my research. I was going to say it's easy at lost and NBL basketball Twitter on there, and that was all rabbit holes trying to go through it. It's just that what I actually noticed, I don't think anyone made this aware to me, but actually they are trying to fundraise young girls to become officials, and I think that's a really good idea because I agree with what you're saying. There's a lack of female coaches, about a lack of female officials, and I sort of mentioned it because what you say earlier about having people who push you towards basketball. I think it's hard because as you go up the pyramid, obviously not everyone's going to be able to become the next GB star, and I think if people have more opportunity, will say, "Oh, okay, this does work out for me. I can become an official, or I can become a coach," and I think it's really good. I think what you were saying about not being enough ladies coach, I think actually if there were more, it would probably inspire more people to stay in the game, because I think from looking outside looking in, apologies, it's hard to see what retains girls in basketball mode. It doesn't. they, like you say, that netball is on Sky has a bit more glamour and glitz about it. And you think I'd
Yeah.
worry about you would lose people to
Sorry.
netball. So I think actually having some female coaches saying, nope, if it doesn't work out for you, there's other opportunities. So I think that's really important. I think moving forward, um, I've pretty much covered everything I want to say media, but I just want to say for me, I think the difficulty getting. I only started watching basketball 3 or 4 years ago, and started my interest in internationals, then moved to NBL, and then with what you guys are doing abroad, and from watching the BL Cup game, I'm sort of starting to learn a bit more about the ladies' side. But I think a real challenge for me is actually finding the information out there. I don't know what your
Yeah,
perspective that
definitely.
was for here compared to other countries. I say obviously you've been playing abroad. Is it better elsewhere, or are we sort of on a level par with?
Um, I think it's probably quite a level par, really. Maybe I didn't know of the other social media outlets in Italy to find things, so I really just used the main site. Um, but we do have problems within the WBBL where not every game has got live stats. We're in 2020 now. There's no excuse. You don't have the internet. You need to buy a dongle. You need to do something. You need to be doing it off a phone or off data. Like it has to happen. It's an inexcusable thing to not be providing things like live stats. And I do think more teams need to be pushing to be live streaming games and just making sure that they have someone tweeting quarter time scores, half time scores. People need to be making more of an effort with social media and with trying to get things like that out so that people can see it. Because I know that I find it really frustrating as a fan of the WBBL. So when I'm away and I'm trying to check scores, and I know that the person I'm trying to look at is playing at a certain gym today, so I won't get a score until an hour after the game's finished. I find that really frustrating
I
as a
know,
fan.
definitely. I say it's still a men's team as well as certain teams. They're not their have live stats or live streams.
Mhm.
They'll be really poor quality. There's so many challenges. I think we need as a body to be using technology much better. It's not like you say. It's so easy to. I really hope someone's pressurising the clubs who are a bit guilty had to sort of invest in a dongle, even just a bit of
Yeah,
4G, say, hey, this store, because I think that's a lot of challenge. Depending where you live is means you get a different experience of basketball. So I really
yeah,
hope people out there listening and appreciate it, because I noticed this season actually more stats out there. You've got the BBL fix doing their little graphics, great. I think Dave Owens
mhm.
started doing more stats. So hopefully for next season it starts, we'll see a lot more. Um, is there anything else you feel um,
Mm,
could really benefit Dave? Say social media only works for a certain demographic. I think we covered quite a bit there, and
yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on the show. So thanks very much. And I thought I'd finish it with obviously we're all under quarantine or restricted going out. I thought maybe you could share for some of your what you've been doing to keep yourself busy and ready for next season when it comes.
I'm well. My parents have recently completed a building project, so I've got a lot of building materials left over, which I've managed to make into some weights because I don't actually have any weights. I have an exercise bike, so I go on that quite a lot. I can get out into the countryside and go for walks, but I am like pressing breeze blocks and bricks and things like that because I just don't have anything else to be able to work out with. So I actually quite enjoyed being really creative there. And then yeah, I've been really guilty of watching quite a lot of Netflix. So you know, it's
I
the same
think
as
we all
everyone,
have.
really.
I think the couch is my new best friend. Sort of trying to get myself up about to do a little bit because it's hard to do those 10,000 steps a day if you're inside for a lot of it. But thanks
Yeah,
for coming on,
definitely.
and I really hope that a discussion like this promotes positive change. Just to say, for myself this year, one of the best things I've seen this year is being able to watch more ladies games. If that's in person at games or the NBL live, the WNBL
Hmm.
games, and obviously go to the BBL Cup final, BBL Trophy, which are both great games for the ladies game. Thanks for
Hmm.
coming on, and all the best, and stay safe, and keep doing what you're doing, and good luck for next season.
Oh, thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye now. Uh,
Thanks. Bye.
bye. Bye.